As the years go by, every season we constantly see new stars in the NFL landscape, be it new rookies, third or fourth starters turning into stars, or maybe the grizzled vets hitting their prime in their 30s. A lot of players might come to your mind when I mention this. They all have their certain stories, journey on how they got to the NFL. But my question to you is, will these specific stories, or MVP winners, or Super Bowl winners, actually matter for future generations of the NFL? Well, in my opinion, yes and no. Let's start off with this. The league has been around since 1920, where it was created in Canton, Ohio. And the league with the official form of the NFL and the AFL merger was in 1966, as officially the NFL. And in today's NFL championships are decided by Super Bowls. But before that, teams would win championships, be it the NFL championship or the NFC championship. As we know, teams like the Cleveland Browns, Detroit Lions, Buffalo Bills are all laughed at by today's fans for having 0 Super Bowls. However, their team's history did exist during the NFL AFL era, and all 3 of these teams captured championships. But no one really cares. Even though these 3 teams won championships. Maybe you'll say it was because it was so long ago. But even the New York Jets, a team that has won a Super Bowl, which they won in 1968, are honestly more laughed at than those teams with 0 Super Bowls. Because people forget they have won, or just don't care that they won one in general. And hell, do you know any player from that Jets team? Well, you might say Joe Namath. Unless you're like, even super hardcore NFL fans are not going to name a single player in that Jets team besides Joe Namath. Obviously, now some crazy fans could name every single player, but you get what I mean. A lot of fans do not know who played on this team. What I'm getting at is, it really doesn't matter. Or if you're not convinced, let's look at the NHL. The Toronto Maple Leafs have the second most championships in NHL history, and the NHL has existed for over 100 years. But the last time they won one was in the 60s. This team is essentially the Boston Celtics of the NHL, but is constantly made fun of and joked about almost as if they've never won a single thing. Now, am I fully saying none of this matters? No, but to a certain point, it really doesn't. Let's look at a QB like Johnny Unitas, who was the GOAT in the NFL until Joe Montana came around. And then Joe Montana was the GOAT. Then Montana was the GOAT until Tom Brady came around. Now he is the GOAT. But even still, he is being chased by a certain Kermit-sounding individual. And my goodness, Joe Montana was widely known when I started watching football in the 2010s, and now I feel like he's slowly being missed by the new generation of people watching the NFL. Obviously, the people on the broadcast obviously know who Joe Montana is, but I feel like he's not being as mentioned as much as other Hall of Famers that we do today. So what am I even saying about this point? Well, I'm saying this. There's always going to be new best players at each position. So as much as it feels important right now that Tom Brady's won 7 Super Bowls and X amount of awards and such, down the line, people of that current era will say this player is better than Tom Brady, and we will have nothing to say about that. And will they be right? Maybe. But in their minds, they will be right, because the largest amount of people who say the same thing is what we decide is the best, especially when it comes to sports. Right now in today's age, Patrick Mahomes is chasing Tom Brady, and some people, maybe not after that Super Bowl loss, do think he could be the GOAT of the NFL. And as much as it feels like this is the greatest thing we'll see in NFL, it likely, and I hate to say it, won't be. As much as Tom Brady winning 7 Super Bowls is crazy, and it's a time to be like, I got to witness Tom Brady win 7 Super Bowls, in 100 years, there might be someone that's already won 10 Super Bowls as a starting QB. And heck, maybe in 2150, there's like 60 NFL teams. And they'll say, hey, Tom Brady won 7, but he won with 30 teams in the league. That's not fair. We have 70 teams in the league now. It's way harder. And I know, I'm being a big downer when I'm talking about this, because it feels like it's the most important thing ever. But in future generations of football, in any sport, it really doesn't matter that much. And of course, there is the Hall of Fame. And the Hall of Fame is there to capture memories and moments for people forever. But majority of people that go to the NFL Hall of Fame will see it, go, huh, and then forget about it the next day. Of course, I'm not saying none of this matters. If you have a family of generations, it is very cool to see a family member be in the Hall of Fame, tell your kids that they're in the NFL, but as a general population of people, they will slowly be forgotten. Now, am I going to say Tom Brady's going to be completely forgotten in 100 years? No. He'll still be talked about, at least a little bit, but I think by the time it's 100 years later, he might be seen as a guy like Johnny Unitas, who is a guy we know, but we rarely think about and rarely care to talk about. Now, as much as I'm being a Debbie Downer and this is a sad video, I came across a certain player in the NFL that I think stood the test of time. He's got the name of George Blanda. Now, let me tell you a story about George Blanda. This man started his career in 1949 and finished in 1975. 26 years of football, the most amount of years played by a single player ever. He was a quarterback and a place kicker. And let me tell you this, George Blanda is a certified legend. Blanda won 3 AFL championships and winning the AFL MVP. But that's not all he did. He also tied the most touchdown passes in a game with 7. Still today, he is tied with that record. No one has beaten it. There's been a few that tied it, but none have beaten it. But that's not why he's only a legend. He has the most extra point kicks ever. I'm not done. In 1962, George Blanda threw 27 passing touchdowns, which is very good for the time. But also in that same season, he threw 42 interceptions, and they finished 11-3. What? Insanity. And get this, the year prior in the AFL Championship, Blanda threw 1 touchdown to 5 interceptions, and they still won. George Blanda may not be the best quarterback ever. Hell, he may not even be a good quarterback ever. But his legacy of a kicker and a quarterback has drawn me so much intrigue that I will never forget this guy. This is a guy I didn't even know about. There's quarterbacks before him and after that are so much better that I know less about because this guy is so interesting to look at that I just can't help but be amazed by it. So this comes to my main point. Does any of this matter? At the beginning of the video, I said yes and no because that's the way I see it. I don't think it matters how good you are unless you're the definitive best of your position of all time, like Tom Brady or Jerry Rice. I think eventually you'll be forgotten. Not the point where they're forgotten forever that no one knows you, but the point that it's just like, oh, look at this guy. He played 100 years ago. Cool. And then you move on. But when you get a guy like George frickin' Blanda, who wasn't even the best quarterback of his time, like guys like Otto Graham, Y.A. Tittle, and Johnny Unitas were much better quarterbacks than him. I know less about these guys and know more about George Blanda. And yes, I'm aware. As I pointed out before, the NFL Hall of Fame is the reason to not forget any of these players, and it's to remember their legacy forever. But again, only to a certain point that works, and I feel like majority of the time, people just forget, move on, and don't really care. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if people forget it in the future. Because what really matters right now as we're living in the year of 2025 is what matters in the day right now of the present. That is only what matters. So what I say to this is, who the hell cares what generations of like my great-great-great-grandkids think of the NFL there, or your great-grandchildren think of the NFL there? It doesn't matter because we are living in the now. And the now has the NFL in the 2025 season. So would the future generation of kids care about the NFL we see today? Probably not, or just don't give a shit at all. But that's what generations are for. You're supposed to experience your generation of what you like. And this is our generation of football. So instead of me being a nihilistic douchebag saying none of this matters, let's just focus on right here, right now, and to experience the NFL season as it is. And that is my video, everybody. I know that was kind of a depressing one, and I was kind of being a bit of a downer, but I thought it was something interesting to talk about because I feel like when you look at it certain ways, no matter how good you are, you'll be forgotten to some point by history. It's a shame, but it's part of being human. It's part of being sports. It's part of everything. But again, at the end of the day, who gives a shit? Let's enjoy football that's happening right now. Thank you for watching, everybody. Please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.